Hello everyone, welcome to Data Science with Harshad. So this is the third and final part of the Python Fundamentals series that I'm running. So I have also created a special playlist titled as Python Programming for Data Science. So if you're someone who is struggling with programming, you can turn to that playlist and learn programming for data science. I would be putting more Python related videos in that particular playlist itself. Now, up till now, we have learned how to write loops, how to write conditional statement, how to write functions. We have seen different data structures. So in this particular video, we are going to talk about object-oriented programming. And we're going to see how do we use external libraries, code written by other people. So what is an object? So we've seen so many data types. You've seen integers, you've seen floating point numbers, strings, lists, dictionaries. So each data type is an object. Now, what is an object? So an object is an instance of a particular type, of a particular class. So what is a class? What is an object? We're going to see what that is in this particular video. So let's dive right in. So everything in Python is an object. We've seen several data types like integers, lists, dictionaries. Each of them is an object. So there are three essential components of an object. The first is the class or the type that it belongs to. The second one is the data attributes that define the data representation of the object. And the third one is the procedures and the methods that are available in the class to interact with the object. Now again, the object is the instance of a particular type or a particular class. So let's see, we have our Jupyter Notebook server running. Now let's quickly create the new Python 3 notebook, which would be our Python Fundamental Part 3 notebook. Let's quickly rename it. So this is our notebook, which is ready. Now I talked about that everything in Python is an object. So let's say if I have a equals 5. So we've seen that I can learn about the type of my variable a by using type a, and I'll simply print my result. So when I run this, it has given me that a is an object of class int. Similarly, if I say I create a list, let's say 1, 2, a. So this is my list, and I print the type of my list, a list. So this prints this is an object of class list. And similarly for string, floating point numbers, and others. So these are all built-in data types, built-in classes in the Python language. And you can use the type method to learn about the class or the type that it belongs to. Now class also has a few procedures or methods to interact with the data, to interact with the object and change its state. So let's say I have this heights list. I'm creating this list. The elements I can put 5, 4, 6, 7, 3, and 5 again, let's say. So this is my heights list, and I have a function called sort, which is the available method for the class list. So heights is my instance of a class list, and I can simply invoke the sort function using the dot operator. I am calling the sort function of the object heights, and heights is a class list object. So when I run heights.sort, so this particular sorting method, it sorts my heights list, and I can simply print heights, and you can see that it has sorted my heights list in this particular manner. So the method has changed the state of my object. And similarly, if let's say I had to reverse a particular list, so let's use a list dot reverse. So again, I also have this reverse method available in class list. So I can simply invoke this function of this object, and when I run this and print the new a list, this has simply reversed the order. So you can see I had 1 2 a, and now I have a 2 and 1. There are many other functions, so let's talk about let's create a new string, and let's say hello world, and I want to replace a few characters or a few words. So I can simply, so there's a replace method of string class where I have to mention the characters that I want to replace. So these are like the old values and what I want to replace it with, which is basically the new value. So I want to replace world with their exclamation mark. So let's store it in a new variable called bstring. So replace method creates a new copy of my string, since strings are immutable. So my new string, which would have this hello world with world replaced with there, stored inside the new string object, which is bstring. So let's run this, and if I print bstring now, so you can see that the new string has hello there instead of hello world. So it has rightly replaced the world characters by their characters. So there are many other methods that are available to us in each of those classes. And to learn about what exactly are the number of methods or attributes that are available in each class, so you can use this method called dir, and what you need to do is simply pass the object that you have. So let's say I pass in a string object, and I want to learn what are the attributes and methods that are available in the string class. So you can see that it gives you the list of attributes and hidden functions. So these are the list of attributes and functions that are available to us for this object a string. Similarly, you can run it for, let's say, a list. So you can see all the list methods are available in this particular format for my list class object. So that was all about built-in classes and objects in the Python language. Now let's talk about how can we create our own classes in Python. We have to understand that there are two main components of a class. One is the data attributes, and the second one is the methods that are available in the class to interact with our object. Now, the class definition syntax goes like this. I use the class keyword followed by my name of the class. So let's try to understand this using an example. Let's say I create a new class called rectangle, and the data attributes that I have to provide, let's say I have height, so let's mention it as 10, and I have width, let's mention it as 5. And for methods, let's define class method as let's say area, and by default each of these class methods take one extra parameter, which is always the first parameter, which is self. Now this self parameter basically refers to the newly created object of this class to refer to that particular object. How would I create the area? So let's create an area variable, and here I will store self.height into self.width. So I am storing my area and I return the area like this. So let's run this cell. Yep, that is successfully run. Now I create an object of this rectangle, let's say rect1, and you create an object like this followed by parenthesis. Now when I run this, so this is my rect1 object, so you can learn about the type of this object. So you can see that this is a rectangle class object. Also let's try to print this. Yeah, so this is my rectangle class object, and in order to access the attributes that we have defined, we can simply access these attributes using dot operator. So I have height, so when I run this I get rect1 dot height, which is 10. All right, that's great. If I have to access the width, so it has given me the width. Now if I want to calculate the area of this rect1 object, so I can invoke this method using the area method that is defined in my class. So rect1 dot area, so that it has given me 50, which is also the right answer. Now you will not always know what these attributes or what the height and the width would always be. So for that, there's a better way to define a class, and you can use constructor functions. So you can, while you are creating a new instance of the class, you can use a function which would initialize the data attributes of your class. So we're using this init function. So the init function basically initializes your data attributes. So it takes the self parameter, and we had to create height and width. So that was about that. And how can I initialize my attributes? So I will initialize my height as height and initialize my width as width. So all I need to do is pass on the height and width while I am creating my rectangle class object. So now when I mention rect1, I can simply pass on the height and the width of my rectangle object. So again, let's run this. I have my rectangle1 class object. Now when I pass rect1 dot height, it should take this 12 as height and 10 as width. So rect1 dot height would give me 12 as height, and rect1 dot width will give me 10. And again, the area would simply be calculated using self dot height and self dot width. Now where self is the reference to my object. So that is how you create your own classes in Python. Now you can also learn about what are the different parameters and what are the different attributes and methods of this rect1 object using the dir method. So you can see that you have area, height and width. Height and width are your data attributes, and area is your function available for this rectangle class object. So now let's talk about using external libraries in Python. So the best thing about being a Python developer is that there's a very huge community of Python developers, and as a result we have a very large number of custom libraries that have been written to cater to each of the fields that we have, be it healthcare, finance, science. So we have scientific packages, we have data manipulation packages, so on and so forth. Now we have a few standard libraries as well, which is like wherever you run Python, you have those libraries with you. So let's start off with those. So one of those libraries is math library. So we're going to import the math library. Now when I write this import, basically I have the entire code which is written inside this library for myself. So I can use all the attributes, all the functions, all the variables that have been basically defined inside the math library for me to use. Now if I run this, so this has successfully run. Now to learn about, let's see what is the type of this math. Now when I run this, So basically it's a class module object. Math is basically a module, and this module is a collection of variables which is defined by someone else. And if I want to learn what exactly is there in the library, I can again run the dir function over this. So you see that there are quite a few attributes and methods for me to use inside the library. So this won't give me much idea. So I can also use the help function. So help and pass on the math library. So this has given me the entire documentation of the library and the functions that are there inside of it. So each function basically tells you what is the parameter that the function takes and what does it return. All right, so now let's try to use the log function inside the math library. So we can simply use math.log. So I can access the log function using the dot operator, math.log, and let's say I want to calculate the log of 100 and the base is 10. I have to specify the number that I have to calculate the log of and the base of the log function. Now this has given me 2, so that is right. So 10 square is 100, so the log of 100 would be 2. Now if I want to access the attribute pi, so in the math library we have pi attribute. So when I run this, so it has given me the value of pi, and we use this to calculate different sort of scientific expressions. The other thing that you'll use and you'll often see is that people import external libraries like this using the as or as keyword. Now this as keyword is simply like empty equals math. So let's say I simply do import math and I do empty equals math, so it's the as keyword is equivalent to that. So I simply have abbreviated the math name as empty so that I don't have to write math.log or math.py. Instead I can simply use empty.log 100, 10, and it gives me the value. Now the other thing that you'll see that there are modules, there are different classes and functions that have been written. So wouldn't it be better if I could use log simply by writing this and not using empty dot or math dot everywhere? So if I run this, it should work. So it means that it has given me this error called name error, where it is telling me that name log is not defined. So for that, another way of importing functions and classes from a module is from math import star. Basically this asterisk means that I want to access all the attribute and all the functions available inside this math library for me. So when I do this and I run log of 100, 10 and I run this, so this has given me log of 100 rightly. But there are developers who would frown upon it, as this is a bad practice. As let's say I am importing another library from NumPy, import star, and now if I try to run this, so it has given me this error, type error, which means that it is expecting an array type. Now what has happened here? I imported my math library, so that is fine. Then I imported my NumPy library and accessed all the functions of NumPy as well as math. Now since I imported NumPy second, now the log function inside the NumPy library overrode math library's log function. The format of the log function inside the NumPy library is different from what it is in the math library. That's why it has given me this error. Now this log function is of the NumPy library and not of the math library. So instead of using asterisk and importing everything, you always should explicitly define what you need from that particular library. So if you need log and pi, you define that, and in case you need as array from NumPy, you define that. So when if I run log of 100 comma 10, this has run successfully for me. And just like this, we have many other libraries that we can use, and we're going to talk more about each library and how can we use each to accomplish our tasks in data science projects, data analysis projects, and do a bunch of problem solving and assignment solving using these libraries. So this concludes our Python Fundamental series. Now, we have a lot more to cover, but we're going to talk about each of those concepts and each of those problems as we come across them in different assignments and projects. So at this point, you should be working and practicing all these concepts that we have talked about. And for that, I have put down the link in the description of the exercise notebooks that I have created for you. And also, you can definitely go out and practice on platforms like HackerRank or LeetCode, as we talked about in the previous video. So, in the next video, we're going to talk about a very important package called Pandas. We're going to learn about data manipulation, how to kickstart your project once you have data at hand. So up until then, you should be practicing all these concepts and keep learning data science with Harshit. So if you found this video useful, do give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel to help the channel grow. And if you found something concerning, any suggestions that you have, any thoughts, you can comment down below and I'll try my best to reply to all of you. So